Most people think they understand the American dream. They think it's a white picket fence, a 30-year fixed mortgage, and a sense of security. They don't. The truth is, you didn't buy a home. You signed up for a life sentence. You aren't a homeowner. You are a prisoner of a rate. It's a normal Tuesday morning in the suburbs. You wake up in a house that Zillow says is worth $700,000. You feel successful, right? But then you check your bank account. You see that massive monthly withdrawal, $4,000, maybe $5,000, disappearing into the digital void of a Tier 1 bank. You look at the walls around you and realize you can't afford to leave. You can't afford to quit that soul-crushing job because your health insurance is tied to it, and your mortgage is tied to your paycheck. You're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week just to maintain a shelter you only spend 8 hours a day in, and 6 of those, you're asleep. You tell yourself you're building equity, but deep down, you feel the walls closing in. You start to realize that the ownership you were promised feels a lot like an obligation you never chose. You're earning more than your parents ever did. On paper, you're rich. But somehow, nothing feels secure. You're one missed paycheck away from a foreclosure notice, yet you're locked in a golden cage with a 3% or 4% interest rate that feels like a bargain. But is it? You can't move to a better city for a better job because you'd have to trade that 3% for a 7% or 8% rate. You're immobile. You're stuck in a neighborhood you've outgrown, in a city that's becoming too expensive, all to protect a rate that has become your master. This isn't just bad luck. It's a calculated part of a larger financial architecture that most people never see. My name is Bond. I don't sell real estate, and I'm not here to give you generic financial advice. I'm here to help you deconstruct the invisible equations that govern your life. That's why I started Bond Money Mind, to build a space where we look past the marketing and analyze the raw math of survival in the modern economy. If you're the person who looks at their mortgage statement and feels a knot in their stomach instead of pride, if you're starting to suspect that the system is designed to harvest your time rather than build your wealth, then you've found the right place. Go ahead and subscribe to Bond Money Mind now. Join us because once we peel back the layers of this American housing myth, you'll never look at a for sale sign the same way again. What you're experiencing has a name. It's not just inflation or a tough market. It's the real estate armored car. It's a mechanism that turns your primary residence into a sophisticated accounting fraud where you are both the victim and the person signing the checks. The most dangerous part isn't what it takes from your wallet every month. It's how it convinces you that being trapped is the ultimate form of success. In the next few minutes, we're going to perform a forensic audit on this trap, and I'm going to show you exactly how much your dream home is actually costing you in human hours. To understand why you feel like a prisoner, we have to look at how the cell was built. 30 or 40 years ago, a single income could buy a 3-bedroom house in a decent school district. Back then, having a stay-at-home parent wasn't just a lifestyle choice, it was a financial safety net. If the breadwinner lost their job, the other parent could enter the workforce to save the family. But today, that backup card has already been played. Most American households are now running on 2 incomes just to keep their heads above water. This is what we call the 2-income trap. By sending both parents to work, we didn't get richer. We just bid up the price of admission to the middle class. The system doesn't rely on force to keep you working. It relies on the fact that you've lost your flexibility. You are running at 100% capacity just to stay in place. Now, here is where it gets cynical. You might think that earning more money is the way out, but the system ensures that every raise you get is immediately swallowed by the environment around you. Think about your neighborhood. Why is that modest house now costing $800,000? Because every other couple in your city is also bringing home 2 paychecks, and they are all using that extra cash to outbid you for a spot in a good school district. It's a classic arms race, where the only winner is the entity collecting the interest. Wait, before we go deeper, I've mapped out this entire armored car mechanism for you. Check the link in the description to download the structural map of this trap. You're working harder, your spouse is working harder, but you're still living in the same quality of house that your grandfather bought on a single salary as a postman. This isn't an accident, it's an escalation by design. The system has successfully decoupled your hard work from your actual wealth. You aren't building a dream, you're funding a bidding war that you can never truly win because the floor keeps rising. While you were distracted by the low interest rate marketing, your fixed costs exploded. Housing prices have doubled, healthcare is up 600%, and education has skyrocketed 100% relative to inflation. These aren't discretionary expenses like Netflix or lattes. These are the vampire costs, the mandatory fees you must pay just to exist in the American middle class. You've been told that a house is your greatest investment, but in reality, it's the anchor that keeps you tetherable to a system that requires your constant, exhausted participation. Now, let's perform a forensic audit on your life. Let's look at the numbers they don't talk about at the closing table. Imagine an average American couple. Let's call them Mark and Sarah, living in a city like Austin or Charlotte. They earn a combined $150,000 a year. On paper, they are the top 15% of earners in the country. They feel rich until they look at the mortgage. They bought a house for $600,000 at a 7% interest rate. Their monthly principal and interest payment alone is nearly $4,000. Over 30 years, they will pay back $1.4 million for a $600,000 house. That is $800,000 in pure interest, money that buys them zero equity, zero stability, and zero freedom. It is a mathematical trap designed to keep them running on the treadmill for the best decades of their lives. But the interest is just the beginning of the vampire costs. In the US, property taxes and insurance aren't suggestions. They are mandatory subscriptions to your own home. On a $600,000 property, that's another $1,000 to $1,500 every single month. Then comes the maintenance. The 1% rule says you should set aside $6,000 a year for when the HVAC dies or the roof leaks. When you add it all up, Mark and Sarah are spending $6,000 a month just to keep the lights on in a house they don't even own yet. That's $72,000 a year in after-tax dollars. To have $72,000 in cash, they need to earn nearly $100,000 in gross salary to serve the house. One person is working full-time, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, just to pay the privilege of sleeping under that roof. They aren't homeowners, they are high-end caretakers for a bank's asset. And here is the cost no one counts: the chi fi kiet suk, the decompression spending. Because Mark and Sarah are so stressed by the mortgage, they don't have the energy to cook. They spend $800 a month on Uber Eats and convenience. They spend another $500 a month on retail therapy, just to feel a spark of joy after a 60-hour work week. When you run the forensic math, their real hourly wage isn't $50 an hour. Once you subtract the taxes, the commute, the interest, the insurance, and the cost of staying sane, they are netting maybe $8 an hour. They are trading their limited time on Earth for a rate of return that would make a venture capitalist laugh. This isn't wealth creation. It's a sophisticated form of indentured servitude. If these numbers feel like a glitch in the matrix, I've prepared a forensic audit slide deck in the description. It's the full breakdown of everything we just covered. Pause for a second. If these numbers are making you realize that you've been running a race you weren't meant to win, you're not alone. Clarity is the first step to escape. Before we move into the psychological cage the system uses to keep you here, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. We're building a community of people who are choosing time over status, and I'd like you to be a part of it. At this point, you might feel a heavy sense of guilt. You're looking at your house, your car, and your mounting debt, thinking you made a series of bad personal choices. But I'm here to tell you, this is not a personal failure. You are living inside a systemic trap, a landscape designed by banks, developers, and policymakers to harvest your productivity. In the American economy, you aren't the customer. Your future labor is the product being sold. The system needs you to be just wealthy enough to qualify for a loan, but just stressed enough that you never stop working to pay it off. This is the real estate armored car, a vehicle that moves the economy forward while keeping you locked inside the back, unable to see the road or choose the destination. You didn't choose this. You were born into a game where the rules were written before you arrived. But the cost isn't just measured in dollars and cents. There is a cognitive cost that is far more devastating. Science tells us that the constant stress of financial insecurity, of being a prisoner of a rate, can actually lower your effective IQ by as much as 13 points. When your brain is constantly running background processes about the next mortgage payment, the rising property taxes, or the fear of a layoff, you lose your margin. You lose the ability to think creatively, to take risks, or to be present for the people you love. Your brain is stuck in survival mode, and in that state, you make more impulsive, expensive decisions. You buy things you don't need to soothe the pain of a life you don't enjoy. This is the shadow work of the modern American. The mental energy spent managing a lifestyle that was supposed to make you feel safe, but has only made you feel more fragile. The most brilliant part of this cage is the golden handcuffs of the low interest rate. For millions of Americans, the 3% mortgage they locked in years ago has become a prison wall. You want to move for a better life? You can't. You want to downsize and simplify? The math won't let you. You are trapped in a house that no longer fits your soul because the cost of leaving is a 7% interest rate that would destroy your budget. The system has successfully turned stability into immobility. You are staying in a job you hate, in a city you're tired of, all to protect a number on a spreadsheet. This is the arrival fallacy, the belief that once you reached the destination of homeownership, you'd be happy. Instead, you found out that the destination was just a checkpoint in a marathon that never ends. You are trading your freedom for a fixed-rate security that is neither fixed nor secure. So the question isn't whether the system exists. We've proven it does, and we've seen the scars it leaves on your mind and your bank account. The real question is, can you step outside of it? Is there a way to stop being a prisoner and start being a human again? In the final part of our investigation, we aren't going to talk about get-rich-quick schemes. We're going to talk about the exit strategy, the quiet, calculated moves that can help you stop the bleeding and reclaim your time. Freedom doesn't come from fighting the system. It comes from understanding where it drains you and quietly refusing to bleed. The first step to escaping the prisoner of a rate mentality isn't selling your house tomorrow. It's about reclaiming your margin. In American finance, margin is the space between your breath and the water's surface. If you are living in a house that requires 2 60-hour-a-week incomes just to survive, you have zero margin. Your first move is to stop the lifestyle creep. When you get that next raise or that year-end bonus, do not put it into a bigger backyard or a kitchen remodel. Put it into a freedom fund, that is completely decoupled from your primary residence. Your goal is to reach a point where your housing cost is less than 25% of a single income. That is the only way to reintroduce a safety net into a system that has systematically removed them. Most people never escape because they think this is an intelligence problem. It isn't. It's an awareness problem. To truly leave the prison, you have to undergo an identity shift. You have to stop seeing yourself as a homeowner in the way the bank wants you to, and start seeing yourself as a capital allocator. Are you still a homeowner or a capital allocator? I've left a financial IQ quiz in the description. Most people score below 50% on the financial IQ quiz because the system hides the truth. Tell me your score. Let's see who's actually breaking free. A homeowner feels pride in a 30-year debt. A capital allocator looks at that same debt and asks, what is the opportunity cost of my time? When you change your identity, you stop making decisions based on status and start making them based on utility. You realize that a smaller, older home with a 15-minute commute is infinitely more valuable than a McMansion that costs you 2 hours of your life every single day in traffic. You stop being a prisoner of a rate and start being a master of your hours. The system wants you to believe that the American dream is a destination you reach by signing a contract. But the real American dream, the one worth having, is the ability to say no. No to a toxic boss. No to a soul-crushing commute. No to a life lived on someone else's terms. True wealth has never been about the size of your portfolio or the zip code on your mail. It has always been about your time-to-life ratio. If you have to work every waking hour to afford the place where you sleep, you aren't living in a home. You're just maintaining a very expensive locker for your stuff. If this investigation changed how you see the walls around you, send it to someone who still thinks this is just how life works. The more of us who see the math, the less power the trap has over us. If this changed your perspective, grab the infographic summary below and share it with someone who's still trapped. Let's reclaim our time together. I'm Bond. I'll see you in the next one.